Anime is a diverse, complicated, voila art form that almost 3 people talk about in public. And unless it's Hayao Miyazaki farting out grand treaties on the beauty of the world, most people matter that they are aware of what anime is, and yeah, they've seen Pokemon, And it's at this point where they just slowly but surely, start speed walking away from me at a far, 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 very far distance. But it's at moments like this where the anime Joe Goldberg within me comes forth and adjusts my pace to meet that of the fleeing victim. As I whisper into their ears, do you know of the beauty within the confusion within the Fate series? Do you know that sometimes anime doesn't give a shit if you watched season 1 and takes a different route for season 2? Anime is a vast spectrum of serious entertainment and does not give a shit to whether the topic revolves around who can cook the best food. At the end of the day, it's very tasteful for the eyes to witness and indulge in shows where children mutilate grown-ups. It's usually at this point where, girls tend to go ahead and block me on all social media platforms, But there was a time where I did make it to second base and was actually asked to recommend a show. And my goofy ass went ahead and told her to go watch Goblin Slayer, which was a big mistake. Big mistake, if you know what I mean. And that is what brings us to today's video, ladies and gentlemen. I compiled a list of anime shows that even normal non-anime watching people can enjoy, and hopefully it'll pave the way for their enjoyment of anime as a whole.
松のおそ松、松のから松、松のちょろ松、松の市松、松の中始松、松の黒松。俺たち息子、同じ顔が6つあったっていいよな。
In my opinion, Mr. Ozomatsu is to anime what South Park is to American animation, or what Deadpool is to superhero movies. And a glimpse at the synopsis or simplistic art style may give off the impression that the show was actually meant for children, but in reality, it's actually far from that, and the show is filled with dark humor and a lot of cussing. If you happen to be like me, a young adult who is bottleneck sick of romance shows, and it happens to be one of those phases where you're not really up to action, and you just want to sit back and enjoy some nice, genuinely funny comedy.
No fighting.
Oi! No fighting. No fucking fighting. No fighting. No fucking fighting! Good. Get the fucking...
The story revolves around 6 identical twins who, despite each of them being above the age of 20, are incredibly lazy and have no motivation to get a job, choosing to rather live as needs instead. In the rare times that they actually do try to get jobs and somehow manage to land an interview, much like my own experience with courting the opposite sex for acceptance, their unique personality often gets in the way and leads to a swift but painful rejection. Apart from finding the perfect job, the daily activities of the Matsuno brothers, as they are known, are never dull, as they go through all sorts of crazy, from trying to get right with the ladies to downright bizarre adventures. Though they desperately look for a way to improve their social standings, they also face the challenge that comes along with being 6 identical siblings. Mr. Ozomatsu takes the familiar concept of goofy people that look similar and reveals underneath it all there is nothing but insanity. There are no story arcs, no rising or falling action. Instead, the show throws a ridiculous short plot into your face and then moves on a few minutes later, bound to keep you interested and invested. Mr. Ozomatsu will ruin your life in the best way possible. You will fall in love with a Muppet and question your life, but you will enjoy feeling the pain, loving the pain, and laughing over the pain.
ザ・サードクアラマスクとの一騎打ちか。
まあ、しゃあないか。
The second scene in the first episode of Tiger Mask W involves a shirtless man hanging upside down suplexing a bear during a workout. It would be kind of weird and less special if all shows started like this, but in my opinion it's a crime that not all shows start like this. Tiger Mask W is about the dangerous world of competing pro wrestling companies and follows the life of characters to whom pro wrestling is a life and death matter, where dudes in Tiger Mask fight for the future of their families and for that of the sport itself. When I have to think about what pro wrestling is in real life, I would say it fits perfectly with an anime adaptation, in the same sense that anime characters can't use their most powerful move until they've had their ass kicked and charged up enough. Pro wrestlers usually cannot use their finishes until a certain unstated amount of time has passed, and WWE always finds a way to make it look spectacular, you know? As far as I could find out, Tiger Mask W is the sequel to the original series Tiger Mask, but ignores other sequels to it. Since the original is only available in Japan, I have no idea how this one correlates with it. The main story revolves around a guy named Naoto who picks up the moniker of Tiger Mask, hoping to make it big in the wrestling world, and find the man who's responsible for crippling his mentor and make him pay. At the same time, his former training partner Takuma has the same intentions, but joins the evil organization to destroy them from within. I would say the whole plot isn't all tangled up, and in my opinion is a simple but well executed story, which makes a pretty good watch. And plus, I like Naoto as the main character. He's serious when fighting and can be a goofball when outside the ring, and has some human flaws which almost prevented him from reaching his goals. His friend on the other hand, Takuma, makes for a good anti-hero with noble motives and behaving like a bad guy. In hindsight, I would say the cast is pretty unique, with each character having that little oomph to them, you know. And for those of you out there like myself who actually do sports or enjoy watching sports just for the fun of it, Tiger Mask is a great sports anime to start off with, and trust me, anime has produced some pretty gay sports anime shows. I just gotta put it out there, but I ain't naming names.
We'll always find a way for justice to be served! Listen, you may have heard these words before, but I'll teach you what they really mean. Go beyond! Plus!
In the number 3 spot, we have My Hero Academia. And before I continue, I just want to voice a purely personal opinion here. If anyone ever tells you My Hero Academia is trash, you need only reply with this:
Your mama's so old, she used to gangbang with the Hebrews.
That, my friend, will solve all your problems. But on the real though, My Hero Academia is a pretty lit show, which centers around a boy born with no powers in a world where almost 80% of all people have powers. Talk about beating the odds. However, later on, Deku is granted superpowers by none other than the Superman of the anime world. All Might is all what a young Deku aspired to be, and works relentlessly hard ever since gaining his quirk to join the prestigious hero school. Note that when he does receive his quirk from All Might, his body is too weak and fragile to actually use it at 100%, and he spends a tremendous amount of time and energy dedicating his life to one day use his power at 100%, and I truly admire the willpower this kid has. And as far as the plot is concerned, I do admire the way they spaced it out. The show really doesn't rush into anything and takes its time to develop the storyline, while at the same time it did manage to keep me intrigued and wanting more.
君自身が勝ち取った力だ。
その手に掴んで。
食え。
My Hero Academia is what you would get if Marvel and DC fucked and had a child and you asked Naruto to babysit. I know, awesome, right?
Hello.
Huh?
Quite impressive.
Who is this old guy again?
Genos looks superior in every way, yet Saitama is guiding him. It's a different story.
What's with the weird old guy? He's gone all quiet. You ready?
Yes.
Pardon me, Saitama. Listen, if your style isn't mainstream, don't be
I don't really have a
embarrassed.
teacher.
Wait, you can't be serious. You smashed that meteor using pure physical ability?
Yeah, pretty much.
For the number 2 spot, I couldn't make up my mind, so I decided to share it between One Punch Man and Mob Psycho 100. Didn't think there was much wrong with this since both two shows are made by the same creator. Both these shows are parodies, with One Punch Man mocking the Japanese superhero subgenre and with Mob Psycho mocking that of the paranormal adventure subgenre. I have to say these two shows have managed to pull off what other parodies have failed at, and one is getting past the first episode and two would be making you forget that it actually is a parody. One Punch Man is about a guy who can beat any enemy with one punch, and on paper that's 2 fights worth of jokes. But a mix of dynamic animation, consistently moving storyline, and fresh humor is what got me vibing to these 2 shows. Mob Psycho, according to the anime community, is a shadow of One Punch Man, which I have to agree with, but comes along with its very own vivid art style, exquisite character development, and fucking golden comedy. Not to mention that it's animated by the legendary Bones Studio, and trust me, when you balls deep into anime as I am, studios become a major player when it comes to choosing your seasonal anime.
Why'd you do it? Why'd you have to try and save me?
Angelo, you know the answer to that.
Revenge is best served cold. This is the cornerstone expression that drives 91 Days, an expression that it lives and dies by, down to the very fabric of its being. On a cold night in April, we enter the world of Angelo Lacusa during the Prohibition era of the 1900s, and on that fateful night, Angelo Lacusa has witnessed a tragedy. His parents and younger brother have been mercilessly slaughtered by the Fanetti mafia family. Losing everything he holds dear, he leaves both his name and hometown behind, adapting the new identity, Avilio Bruno. This is the start of a much darker theme involving drugs, violence, assassinations, kidnappings, oh yeah, and moonshine productions, which all tie down under a revenge-filled plot. 91 Days for me was a genuine surprise. After finishing 91 Days, I simply sat back and asked myself, how the fuck did anime manage to pull off a mafia story? I honestly appreciate shows like 91 Days. The show is an expression of how serious of an art form anime truly is, and that I'm not watching fucking cartoons 2 AM in the night. 91 Days is the type of show that I would confidently recommend to grown-ups without the slightest worry about it embarrassing anime, because it has this authentic atmosphere to it that even if the Don of the Gambino family himself had to watch it, he would be proud. And not to mention that the dub did a spectacular job with the Italian accents. Yeah, and that's pretty much it, you know. If 91 Days was a book, I would fucking read the shit. And yeah, that's the end of this video. Please do hit the subscribe button and the like button, and follow us on our IG page at the Ganame channel, as we are trying to grow on all platforms. And yeah, cheers.